Hello guys, this is GRTV. Looking at a lot of nice things here. I actually helped to hang some of this wallpaper. It's a nice Whole Foods store, right? Flowers. Nice atmosphere. So I'm wanting to some oranges, we got just a really nice atmosphere, right? And if you look closely, for example, you'll notice obviously Amazon owning Whole Foods, these people have a lot of purchasing power. They can get what they want to reinvest in the business. Like this is a brand new cart, for example. And I want to explain what money does. The implication being that it can do good or bad things. Depends on who's using it. What it does for some people is it distracts them. For example, if I had money, I might have gone out and partied or tried to start a family or buy fancy cars and dinners and all types of things that, you see, money gives you the illusion of freedom. There is no freedom. We are all bound. We're all bound to each other. You can't buy your way out of unity fucking consciousness. It's who we are. You can't escape onto an island in order to avoid the realities that people are facing and that you yourself will face at such time that you transition from this life to the next. You don't know if you'll incarnate into a less fortunate family or place with, for example, maybe an unhealthy mother, but in order to prevent that, see, everything is about reducing the likelihood and preventative measures. We take preventative measures to help us live longer lifetimes. Some people make the mistake of, even if they eat healthy, maybe some activities they do are unhealthy, or maybe some of the word choices they have are not conducive. They might say, well, oh, I'm getting older, oh, I'm gonna retire. No, you're not. You use the word choices like you say you're gonna live forever. The point being that you can't buy these things. You can't have doctors and all these little herbal supplements, and it's not things that can be bought. It's just you have to be in tune for your body. Simple, inexpensive activities: exercising, dancing, balancing your lives. Drinking water, eating inexpensive foods like beans and rice and oatmeal and pasta and vegetables. All of that. That's the answer. Not all these fancy, costly stuff. And maybe some of it has value, and maybe with machines taking over, which is great, just like they did in the farming era, but now they're even taking over more, and it's allowing us to be more playful and creative and do what we want. But then comes into question who earns money, who's able to save it, who's able to manage it, prudently. And again, I'm trying to put an emphasis here on what money does. Money influences people. And sometimes it's misleading. They say things like, oh, it's charitable, or oh, it's a donation, or it's a contribution. It's just energy that you're giving or dedicating to something. There's no such thing as charity. It's all you're paying for something. And sometimes you're just paying for it with your time or energy. And another misconception is that if you're not, that the people with money are the most powerful, or the people with no, it's money. What money does is, there are other things it can do, but there's one thing that it does, a lot of times, and what it is it convinces people to do things. It motivates people. So they'll do things that they otherwise might not be interested in. Some people like the jobs that they have, even if they work, under the auspices of a larger company and they're not self-employed. Like some people like being a teacher, or say working at Walmart, or any occupation you can conceive of. But then there are other people who, whether or not they're self-employed, they don't like their job and they feel like there's something more important they could do for society. And I'd like to really look into that here. I'd like to ask the questions of, what do people do? Yeah, what motivates them? How high of a cost do they have to describe like what they really want? What in order to be happy. Like there's a differentiation. There's you either have things for practical reasons, like certain types of transportation, or impractical reasons, like a fancy car, like fancy clothing, like stuff that doesn't really have a functionality except to make you feel good. So it's either for function or for feeling, right? Now, what if you could put a lesser price on that feeling? Such things as meditation. And there are other, I think it's a worthy goal if it's convenient to aim for the fancy, the refinement, the first class experiences. But not that be your base operational. Your base operational and how you categorize yourself and who you decide to associate with should be more based upon moral standards. Somebody could be poor, but they could still have good ethics, work ethics. They could have, they could be financially prudent and savvy, even if they're limited and they're just maybe getting started, or they just went through a bad situation, So, and then of course you have the morals of, sometimes there's a lot of superficial stuff like, oh, these people have a similar phone or similar dietary interest, or diet's important, but a lot of things can be secondary, like, oh, they both have similar interest in different hobbies or whatever it is. The most important things, I believe, at the end of the day are, how your work ethic, and whether you believe you believe in the sanctity of marriage, or whether it's just chaos the way you approach it, and you just try to seduce anyone and everyone. How can humanity trust one another if people are operating like that? And like I said, money gives you the illusion that you can get whatever you want and buy love, and that if you have money, others will like you. But really, it's a question of whether they like your dreams. Sometimes people their dreams are heavily dependent upon money, and money. What that means is they're heavily dependent on other people doing things for them. So some people's dreams might be to have a fancy home, and that's great. That can be motivation, right? But thing is that it's conditional upon. And if that's like their top dream, if their top dream isn't just to, be around friendly people who are marriage oriented and respectful, quality people, if that's not their number one dream, then they might be willing to say, oh well, I don't care if this person's income is questionable, or they're a drug dealer. It's just that they have a nice, home, or they have enough financial stability. Like, really, I'm trying to encourage people to just bring these things to an awareness. Don't judge yourself, but just be aware of what your thinking is, and whether you want to fine tune it, and fine tune what's important for you and who. And lastly, money, it gives you the illusion of attachment. It makes you maybe either save things, buy things, do things, um, have situations like social situations that are costly, where you know, attend parties and you, because you can afford to, you know, what, you know, because I can afford to. Well, afford what? Can you afford the time and energy to do something? Always think of it like that as well. Just as much as money. Money is also important. It's important to appreciate it and find tricks to save it, and not just spend it randomly. You know, treat it like it's your energy, it's your time, it's your, and that you should give it to who you and what you want, not just randomly. And that you should, I think a mistake some people make is thinking that, oh, they can just be charitable and help other people and give it all away, and then it'll come back to you. No, it's irresponsible. You know, first take care of yourself, don't burden yourself upon others, and then go from there. So thanks for considering, guys. This is JRTV.